All right. So, what was your first question?
So the first question is about a book, Happiness and Hunger by Bhikkhu
No,
Buddhadasa.
your first question was about dreaming.
Oh, right, yeah, it was about dreaming. Should I start with the first question or the second one?
I just said start with the first question.
Okay. So the first one is about dreaming. Let me introduce it a little bit. I learned about from Michael about paticca samuppada, dependent origination,
Hmm.
and yeah, that was pretty interesting for me because I could relate it a lot to my kind of clinging to social validation and also especially sexual validation and see how this kind of stuff um, yeah can be pretty good described in these 12 steps. And yeah, I've been just wondering because in the last 3 days I have been I had this recurring dream of like a past love of mine that I really desire. And I'm really wondering what the take is like on dreams that like um, are harder to deal with, especially like in the scenario right now to that they are recurring so often.
All right. So, um, I'll give you the very easy answer first, and then we'll discuss it a little bit. The
Yeah.
easy answer is that the Buddha was unconcerned about dreams, and he advised people just to forget all about them. That in fact, remembering dreams and wanting to know and trying to figure stuff out is a form of dukkha,
Hmm.
and that almost in all cases, whenever anybody is doing that, they make stuff up. It's a matter of perception based upon, let us say, that if it, we'll use the word dream, but let me talk about it in the sense of daydreams. Because daydreams is just letting the mind wander. Like little Billy is sitting in class and he's just looking out the window and not paying attention. And the teacher calls on him and says to pay attention, right? To come back to the classroom, to come back to what's happening here. Okay? Now, what night dreams are is the fact that you didn't finish the business of the day. That in fact, real sleep is a repair to repair what's going on with the body, to get the body rest and relaxation so that it can be, let us say, ready for a new day. Dreaming interferes with that. The dreaming is called REM sleep, and they use the word REM because of rapid eye movement. Now, the thing that's really interesting is that in the old days, when they were doing dream research, they didn't have the equipment for people to take home. So they required them to spend the night in the hospital, and then people, because of that, do a whole lot more dreaming. That hospital stays are not easy things for people to deal with. They want to be at home, they want comfort. Um, and so the dream research then was, let us say, highly modified, interfered with by the reason that in order to do any dream research, they had to change the environment. Now, in a class that I took in graduate school in mathematics, one of the most important things about statistics is that the observer always, the, get me straight, the observer always bastardizes his data.
What does this?
All polls are wrong. Even when they try to make corrections to the data, their corrections are more bastardizing the data. And the example that I really love is that bird watchers don't watch birds. Bird watchers watch birds watching bird watchers. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Poll takers don't take polls. They ask people questions who know that this is a poll taker, and so they give answers they want to give to the poll taker, not what they will do in the voting booth.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay? And not only that, the worst part of it is that almost all of the political polls are done by telephone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess what? There's laws against doing polls on cell phones, and so almost all phone polls are done by landline. What does that mean? That means most old people are the only ones that are going to poll.
Yeah.
It's hard to poll young people because young people have cell phones, and the cell phone providers charge money for incoming calls, and so therefore they can't do polls on cell phones. That's a really big way of bastardizing one's own data. Okay, so why am I talking about this when you ask about dreams? Is when you're trying to figure out the dream, you're trying to bastardize your own data. This is why the Buddha would say, forget about the dreams. That a better thing to do is start to plan on having a good night's sleep. To practice Anapanasati when you're in bed, that instead of saying things like, oh, I've got to get up in the morning, I got so much to do, because that's going to cause dreams. Okay? If you want something, like a girl, you're going to start having dreams about what you need to do to get girls. I remember, by the way, when I was a young man, that almost all the dreams that I had, the one thing that was really, let us say, characteristic is that they always happened in a really, really big building. All right, like a big hotel or something like that. Big ballroom, big government buildings, those are the kind of dreams that would occur.
Mm.
And guess what? I don't have those kind of dreams anymore, because I've changed my ideas about grandiosity. When I
So you say,
recognized what grandiosity was all about, I started practicing reality instead of grandiosity. So, in fact, our attitudes affect what our dreams are. So instead of trying to worry about the dreams, let's go back and start figuring out what is reality. Because reality, we have let us say, an opportunity, a choice, because when we're awake, we have a choice to see reality, and while we're asleep at night, we're making stuff up,
yeah.
often based upon desires,
So you're
often
saying,
based upon things that we want.
so you're saying that I am like shouldn't really take it too serious and just continue with the Anapanasati. And
Right. Don't take them seriously at all. There's nothing to them.
yeah.
Now, we have had a whole civilization full of people who tried to interpret dreams. That, in fact, maybe you've heard that Sigmund Freud was very famous as a psychoanalyst, but he wrote a book called Interpretation of Dreams, and because of that, he got a really bad rap. And in fact, in the 1970s, they were hating him, but they didn't even know why. But it was because of his book on interpretation of dreams, and boy, was he screwed up. He got a whole lot of stuff right. In fact, he was the pioneer for developmental psychology.
Mm.
And he really got some stuff right when he did work with id, superego, and ego. But his dream interpretation was wildly wrong. And you have Carl Jung, who was a student of Freud. He dabbled in dreams. A lot of people want to figure out what dreams are all about. That's why they were doing dream research so heavily back in the 60s and 70s.
Mm.
In fact, many of the researchers on dreams were the ones who hated Sigmund Freud the most. So I have been told.
All
And the
right.
point is that let's not deal with dreams. Let's deal with reality. Whether it's a daydream or a night dream, let's stop doing it. Stop caring about it.
And yeah, all right.
All right. So is that enough for you?
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, there's nothing much to talk about then anymore. It's like
There's nothing
just
much to talk
continue with
about with
this, right?
dreams. Let's not interpret them.
Yeah.
Let's not try to figure them out. In fact, let's get the rest we need so that you're not doing much dreaming.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. Makes sense, actually.
That I would say that while I was a monk for many years, I didn't do any dreaming. Just lately, because I'm writing a website, I've started to dream again. But I've noticed it and put them down.
You're dreaming about the website.
Well, not directly about the website, but indirectly about getting stuff done, doing things about stuff that you want.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so the right way to look at dreams is let's make sure that we get the right rest that we need by doing Anapanasati. So let's talk about that for a minute. Okay? That when you go to bed at night, most people are uh, going to bed with the idea, oh, I've got to get up tomorrow. Oh, I've got to go to work. I've got this to do and that to do. And they wind up giving themselves insomnia by rehearsing tomorrow. A better thing to do is to practice everything is all right, everything is fine. Oh, this feels so good. It doesn't matter whether I sleep or not.
Mm,
Let me just lay here for the next 8 hours and enjoy that I've got no place to go and nothing to do.
right.
And by doing that, you can get really relaxed and then you can go to sleep and there's not much dreaming going to be going on.
So going to sleep with the right mindset, right?
With the
So,
right mental attitude that everything is all right, I'm fine, there is no problems to solve. But if you go to sleep with problems to solve, guess what? The dreams are going to try to solve the problems.
mm, mm. Yeah, I get you. It's like meditation, taking some time to just be okay, doing nothing. Same like falling asleep.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, I get it. Let me try that for sure.
All right, so let's go to the next one. Let's go to
Yeah,
your questions about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa and the pamphlet on happiness and hunger.
yeah. Ivan recommended me that book since
Uh huh.
I mean,
I would recommend anything that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa has said that's gotten written down and
yeah, I really
translated
like it.
into English.
I really like it because it's simple. It's like not
Hmm.
that complex and it's simple words. So I really like it. So the book is called Happiness and Hunger by Bhikkhu Buddhadasa.
Hmm.
There's this passage where he says, um, "There's no other way out of dukkha than from evil to good, and then from good to voidness. In
Right.
voidness, hunger stops, and there's
This is why I teach it the way that I do, is to start having wholesome thoughts. And then from wholesome thoughts, we can begin to put gaps between the wholesome thoughts. There you are, right there. That's the
let
statement.
me get this straight. What do you mean by gaps?
Well, that's the void, is when there's nothing happening.
Hmm.
Okay? And Bhikkhu Buddhadasa has another book, and the title of it has the word void in it. And that the point that he's making in that book is whatever you're doing with a void mind. In other words, keep your mind on what you're doing rather than having the mind wander around while you're doing something.
Yeah.
Keep track of what you're doing. Do what you're doing rather than trying to do something while your mind is occupied elsewhere.
So the void is, what is meant is like desireless state, right?
Yeah, a state of desirelessness.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and why is it, like, I don't understand, why don't we go directly to realizing that desirelessness, but why instead we put like wholesome thoughts in between?
Well, all right. Let's put it this way. You've got some place to go, and there's a mountain between where you're going to go and where you are now. Okay. So climbing the mountain is like coming out of negative thoughts into happy thoughts. And once you get to the top of the hill, it's a downhill curve to go from the happy state down to the bottom of the hill. So you want to, in fact, wind up at a place that you got to easily, that you cannot climb your way out of dukkha into neutrality. You got to climb your way out of dukkha into a state of wholesome.
And isn't
So
that,
you move from unwholesome to wholesome, and then you move from the wholesome back to the neutral place. This actually they know of, let us call it electronic engineering on a sine wave. You know that electricity operates normally in a sine wave.
yeah,
Now we can operate with that with harmonics and get it almost up to a square wave. But
yeah.
the point that I'm making here is that when electricity turns off, it never turns off from the nadir part of the cycle. It will always have one more positive cycle where it reaches the zenith and then it goes to zero. So the point that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa was making actually happens in physical reality also.
But isn't there the possibility also that we then cling to the wholesome thoughts instead of clinging to the unwholesome?
Well, if you're clinging to wholesome thoughts, aren't they then unwholesome by nature?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about,
So it's really not the actual thought itself. It's your attitude about the thoughts. For instance, you can talk to a dog, patting it on the head, and tell that dog it's the worst piece of shit in town. That I hate you. You're a bad dog. But listen to the way that the dog is thinking. He's listening to your tone of voice, not the words you're saying. He's looking at your attitude. Okay. So if you're clinging to wholesome thoughts, that's, oh, I need that, as opposed to, oh, I've got it. So in fact, in a way, you could say it's impossible to cling to a wholesome thought because what you wind up clinging to instead is unwholesome.
unwholesome thought. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, I understand that. Great. Thanks a lot. I think that's actually, you answered my questions pretty good.
All right. That's all there was to it, huh?
Oh, yeah, and there was something else. I don't know if we want to open that box, but I really want to, I'm like continuing to learn more about Buddhist principles.
Mm.
And there was
I
one
would not call them Buddhist principles. Rather, I would call it the teachings of the Buddha,
the
or
teachings.
another way of saying it is Buddhadama. All
Yeah.
right.
So,
Principles run schools. Let's not do that.
yeah. I've often heard you talk about the jhanas. Now I've been wondering if you can explain to me what this means, what
All
this
right.
is.
When you're practicing correctly, you're removing unwholesome thoughts. Unwholesome thoughts can be analogized as hindrances or obstructions. Why? Because the unwholesome thoughts, the hindrances, and the obstructions are hindering you from being in a really good state.
Yeah.
An interesting example of that is somebody who is doubtful and confused about how to practice, and they want to know how to practice. Where in fact practice is really dead easy, but they're preventing themselves from actually practicing by trying to figure it out. It's
Yeah.
something that you don't figure out, it's something that you do and get good results from.
But also by not clinging to the good results, right? When I
Well, uh, if you cling to the results, in fact, that happens sometimes with
yeah
students, is that they let us say rather than in a good state, that they're clinging to an experience that they had, maybe some sort of peak experience, maybe some sort of experience that average meditators have, and they go off into a state that they think is marvelous. Next time they sit down for meditation, they're trying to reproduce that, which means now that they're clinging to something that they had, but they don't have it now, and they
yeah
want it again. So what they've done is they've added something new. In the beginning, let us say that they actually practiced correctly. Now they're adding the desire for the results of something that happened when they were practicing correctly, as opposed to actually practicing correctly again. So when the thought of I want jhana comes up, the answer is, oh, I don't need that right now. I'm having too much fun. I'm having too good a time. Just the way that I am is right now is okay, and I'm satisfied.
yeah
All right. Now, to remove those kind of hindrances is one of the most important steps of jhana. And another way of saying it is you have to apply the mind to the wholesome. And you apply the mind to the wholesome and sustain the mind on the wholesome. And when you do that, and you start gladdening the mind to having thoughts of everything is all right, not a problem in the world, that relieves us of any dangers, because right now there's nothing dangerous. Therefore, I can feel safe and secure. The body is sitting comfortably. Let me have a mental state of comfort, relaxing the body. And then I begin to feel comfortable. I can feel also the state of satisfaction.
mm.
All right. Satisfaction now is with safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied. That's called sukha. Now, sukha is a word that's exactly opposite of the word dukkha, because you're satisfied, and dukkha means you're dissatisfied, you're uncomfortable, you're afraid, you're in doubt, you're worried, etc. That's
yeah
dukkha. But when you're in a state of satisfaction, comfort, safe, secure, that's sukha. Now, occasionally, what will happen is that you'll have a thought of, wow, this is so great. Wow,
is
I
that
can do this.
is that actually because Bhikkhu Buddhadasa talked about the difference between Lokiya Sukha and Lokutara Sukha? Is that actually like Lokutara Sukha? That satisfaction that you're talking about because of the satisfaction because of desirelessness?
Yes, the satisfaction of desirelessness.
So it's
Uh, Lokatara means actually that you know, or lokavitu, knowledge of the reality. Okay, and the reality is that you really are okay.
mm. So that
So
how does
that's
it
the
relate?
sukha is that the realization that everything is all right, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Everything is okay, not because of anything, but rather that's its nature. Everything is fine, everything is okay. You don't have to blame it on anybody or anything, like God or Brahma or something. But in
Yeah.
fact, you can better way of looking at it is God or Brahma or something is actually the reality itself, not something outside of reality that needs a separate name. So, if the Christians are actually worshiping God correctly, they're actually worshiping reality, and they can take the word God out of it. When they say God is real, okay, well, if God is real, then why use the word God? Why don't you just use the word real and
So,
stay with what's real?
so where we get to is actually that it kind of sounds like we get behind this dualistic worldview that we have a lot of the times, like saying this is good and this is bad. So this is what
Right.
it's all
Rather
about.
than this is just real. So actually, good and bad have a particular quality to them, which is exactly what gives us rules and laws, okay? Supposed to. It's supposed to be good and it's supposed to not be bad, all right? So these things are based upon feelings. If you have a pleasant feeling about something, then you'll probably want it. For instance, if you have a pleasant feeling about jhana, then you'll want it again. If you have an unpleasant feeling, you want to get rid of it. So,
Yeah,
wanting is the key word for both pleasure and displeasure. Now, if you want something that you don't have, there's a way of looking at it is that means I'd be better off if I had it, which means
yeah,
I'm not good enough right now.
right.
I'm a victim because I don't have what I want.
Yeah,
Okay. And the next mistake that we make is if we like it and we want it, then we think of it, it must be good. And if we like it and
yeah.
want to get rid of it, then it must be bad.
That's like the root of ignorance, right? That's the same thing with
Hang on,
when I looked at
the cat's after the camera again.
oh,
There.
really.
We got it back. Okay, good.
That's like the like ignorance. Like when I looked at like kind of my social validation thing, the root cause is the ignorance that I think I need this or that. I need this social validation to actually be satisfied, when in fact true satisfaction is rather coming from desirelessness, so from
E-
inside.
Exactly. So you can be satisfied when you see that you can be okay without what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want it and are ignorant about it, then you think that I need it, I want it, and I can't do without it. And that puts us back in the victim's position.
Yeah.
But you can become a winner by saying, I'm okay without it. I'm all right. Not a worry in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So this actually is what we're talking about is judgment. Judging things of good and bad, not based upon any reality, but rather based upon our feelings.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you, I don't even think the book's been translated into English, but it's in Thai. But Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, there is a book in Thai language where he talks about Christianity. Actually, he's talking about more of the Bible because he doesn't know anything about Christianity. He's never been to a revival meeting, never been to a Pentecostal snakehold, never been to a evangelical, never voted in the U.S. So he doesn't know Christians, but he has studied the Bible because he had one.
Yeah.
And one of the points that he's making, in fact, I would think that the point of the book has to do with the story of Adam and Eve.
Oh yeah, he writes about this actually in Happiness and Hunger also, about taking the fruit of good and bad, taking the fruit of desire, right?
Right. Well, actually, in the book that I'm thinking about, he talks about it like this that what did Adam and Eve eat?
The fruit of judgment, maybe?
The word eat here is partake of, and they partake of the result, the fruit, like fruit of your labor, fruit of your loins, fruit of the loom.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's the fruit. It's not an apple. It's the fruit of some action. All right, the results of some action.
It's the fruit of like fulfilling expectation.
Actually, it's the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Hmm.
Oh, you ask about good and bad. And it's the knowledge that this is good and the knowledge that this is bad is what destroys reality. It destroys our paradise.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve were not dragged out of paradise kicking and screaming. They destroyed their paradise through their judgments of it.
Yeah. That's what he writes also in Happiness and Hunger, how this relates and how true, like how Christianity truly has the same teaching like Buddhism in that regard.
But they misunderstand it. They don't get it.
Yeah.
They're hung up on talking snakes. The woman did it first, the apple, and all kinds of stuff, and miss the point of the story. In
Yeah.
fact, Christianity is highly judgmental. Gays are bad, blacks are bad, brown people are bad. Anybody who's not a Christian is bad. Catholics are bad. Muslims are bad.
I don't know if you got this.
People who have abortions are bad.
Have you heard about there are the Olympics right now, right? And these queer people and transgender, they have like displayed the scene of the Last Supper from the Renaissance, this image, and they redid it, kind of reenactment. And there is a lot of fuss about it right now from the Christians that this is not okay, that they do this.
Mm-hmm. So even though the Christians read the story of Adam and Eve, they don't get it. They
No.
wind up judging everything
Mm-hmm.
in good or bad terms. They even see it as God and the devil, good and bad.
Yeah.
Why is God good? God's just real. The goodness and badness is in the mind of the beholder.
Yeah. And also, I often think they or see that they follow rules which they actually don't understand why they are there. And they tell me the argument, well, because it's written in the Bible. And that's like that's an it's a bad argument actually, because they don't actually know what they're doing and why they are doing it. They just follow someone else's
Right.
rules, opinions.
And the Bible, the best of it, is badly translated. Like,
Yeah.
why to talk about the knowledge and good and evil as a fruit that Adam and Eve ate? Why do they have to say it that way? That makes it really hard for modern people to understand. That's more 16th century, 15th century language.
Yeah. So we've been drifted off a little bit. Let me come back to the jhanas. How does this relate to the jhanas?
Oh, well, I covered them all. Let me go
Really?
back and reiterate, okay? The first jhana is actually what the Anapanasati Sutta is all about. It's got the first jhana built right in. Okay. Now, in some suttas, there are 5 jhana factors for the first jhana, and in other suttas, they add a 6th one. But the Anapanasati Sutta has all 6. So let's go over them again. The first thing is that we have the mind in a wholesome state, free from the hindrances, free from unwholesome thoughts. We apply the mind to the wholesome. We
Mm-hmm.
continue to apply the mind to the wholesome, which is sustaining. Applied and sustained thought, removal of the hindrances, brings us into the state of feeling safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied, which is sukha.
Mm-hmm.
If we practice enough, then we get the idea of, wow, no matter what happens, I can come out of my unwholesome thoughts and come back to reality as it is. This is the concept of piti. And in the Anapanasati Sutta, it talks also about relaxing the body, because if your body is uptight, you can't be comfortable. So comfort in the body is comfort in the mind. No comfort in the body is no comfort in the mind. So let's get the body comfortable and relaxed. And there you go. I just listed them again. The jhana factors. If you can do that, and that's in fact someone who practices for the first time can do this, called, I guess, beginner's luck. And that is in the fact that you gladden the mind, bring yourself out of the hindrances, apply the mind to the wholesome, keep doing it over and over and over again, developing the feeling of safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied, the
Mm-hmm.
sukha. And then when we have the sama sankappa, which actually is a change of attitude, because most people live in the attitude of victim, and we're going to change that attitude in the attitude of a winner. So the wow, the piti, can also be used with the term success. Safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied, that's the sukha. And then, wow, I can do this, the success, is the piti.
Wow, I've seen that thought.
Wow, look at that. Wow, isn't reality wonderful? We
Mm,
live in a paradise.
yeah,
Okay? That good feeling then is the piti, and in the suttas, it often is referred to as piti sukha. So you add to that safe, secure, comfortable, satisfied, you add successful. And then there is a state beyond that, and you could call that the state of being wealthy, being generous. Wow, I've got so much happiness, I'm willing to spread it around
because the bucket is too full.
because the bucket is too full, it's overflowing. That's wealth. When $100 bills fall out of your pocket because your pockets are so stuffed with them,
Yeah.
your mental pockets with mental $100 bills, a great big grin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the jhana factors. The Buddha also talks about it in Sutta number 36, where he says this first jhana is the path to enlightenment, not the second, third, and fourth and higher states, but rather getting into this state of being sukha and sustaining that. That's the path, that's the way. When you're satisfied the way you are, you don't want anything. People who want enlightenment, they're in the state of dukkha. They want something they don't have. But
Mm.
when you forget all about enlightenment and just completely satisfied, this is great. Then what's better? Wanting enlightenment, wanting something you don't have, or being completely satisfied? And if you are satisfied, isn't that light enough? If you are satisfied, it's certainly light enough. So in a way, the first jhana is enlightenment because it's already good enough. Now that also precludes the point is that sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're in the first jhana and sometimes you're in misery. Can
Yeah.
you see that misery? Can you see that, in fact, and this is a point that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa made that you mentioned before we started the call, and that is there is dukkha. It exists. And yet most of the meditating class have the idea that, oh, they should be free from dukkha. All right? They should be free from dukkha. Guess what that means? That means they want to be free from dukkha and they're not, which means that they create dukkha with the rule you should be free from it.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
when you recognize that dukkha exists, then you can be on guard for it. So when it comes up, you can say, hot dog, I see you, Myra. Ha ha, I can see that.
and
And then
also
you
like,
can go back into that jhana state.
and also not taking it too serious, because I noticed that a lot of the times when dukkha comes up, unwholesome thoughts, I liked to really dwell in it and say like, oh, everything's
Oh,
bad
that's what the
today.
ordinary people are. They really love it.
Right.
For instance, when people are angry, they want to be angry.
Yeah, and also they want others to be angry, right?
And they want everybody to be angry. Why? Because angry feels like you've got power. And the reason that people get angry is because they're afraid. And people really would prefer feeling powerful and angry rather than feeling afraid because of the sense of loss of something. That's
So
why bullies want to make their victims feel afraid so that the bully gets benefit.
what is the right way to react to people wanting you to be angry?
Ah, that's how. Ah.
Great. I will try that, but I have the feeling that people get more angry when I do it.
Yes, they will for a short time. Then you can say, hey, you'd be better off if you felt happy rather than angry. You're not going to get what you want by being angry. Why don't you be happy instead?
Yeah.
Or in the case of the bully, you can say, oh, you're trying to bully me and you don't even know how to do it. Let me teach you how to be a bully. In fact, the way that I'm talking right now is already I'm on top. You're the underdog now. And they'll get really pissed off with that one.
Oh yeah. I can see that already.
And then what do? You laugh.
That's great. Well, I think we can kind of wrap up the call, right?
That's great. I'm really glad you called. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it's been some time, especially since you've been ill. So I've been really glad that I have the opportunity to call again.
Great.
It's pretty early for me.
So one last point, and that is I invite you to join the Open Sangha Foundation website.
Oh yeah, I'm in the group. I saw you.
Great.
I
Yeah,
saw
I
you
invited
yesterday
you.
creating like a group or something.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
well, go have fun. It's
Thanks,
got a
you too.
huge set of searches. Have you played with that?
No, I have not.
Yeah, go to the searches. Go to the first off, we have a Google map that has more than 4,000 places on it. We also have a detailed search where you can search for lineage, search for name, search for city, search for all kinds of things.
Oh, really?
And then we have a detailed search where you can actually search through their uh, actually all of their data, including the descriptions and whatnot. It's a
So,
little slower, so I would recommend the detailed search rather than the general search.
mm.
And then we have on that page all kinds of other things, like we've got a teachers page, and we've got elders page, and
Well,
we've got
that's new,
individual
right? Is
instruction
it?
page.
The search is new. I think is it?
Actually, no. In fact, that searching was the bedrock of the entire website
Oh,
from the
really?
from the scratch.
I probably have not looked enough at it.
All right, we'll go have fun with it, and we'll see
Yeah.
you later, Jones.
Yeah, see you. Has been a
Okay.
pleasure. Great day, great life, great moment. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.